Welcome back to the shop, everybody. My log exhaust manifolds, they're not going to cut it for this big block. We put in a set of Sanderson headers, but they didn't just bolt in. There's no way they were going to bolt in. I've got raised exhaust ports. This thing moves way more volume than the old stock ones. So I'll show you the tips and tricks and the things I had to do to seal these up, bolt them in, and ultimately make them fit. So if you want to learn, stay tuned. All right, workbench cleaned off. Header bolts, that means one thing. We need some headers, because I want to put them there. To the shiny pile. This is a cool pile. I don't often get to do stuff like that. Come with me. I know where you need to go. Dun 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 dun. Shiny. Let's set them up here. We'll take a look at them. All right, behold, a set of Sanderson headers for a big block Chevy. I did not get long tube headers. These are called block huggers because I want everything to stay in the frame, not down below it, because this thing, if I ever lower it more, I don't want ground scraping. All right, let's see if they fit. And if they fit, we'll put some high temp RTV on these because they don't need a gasket, but they recommend a skimming of RTV to go up onto the heads. So wish us luck. All right, with a couple bolts in hand, let's see if we can origami these in there. I'm starting on this side, selfishly, because I think I have to trim on the other side. And it's kind of early in the morning. And as much as I like grinding things and making sparks, if everybody's asleep, that's not what we need to do. This is kind of tricky one-handed. Come. Just get started. Oh yeah, these are gonna fit over here. Alright, let me get one back here. Because I want to see what they look like in the frame. This side is more crowded than the passenger side, but the passenger side will be the one I have to trim. In style. From below. There's a ground strap here. I gotta find a home for. If we go right there, that would be handy. I can do it. I can put a bolt in a hole. Okay. There we go. This is only a couple of bolts for just literally seeing how we're looking. All right. I'm pretty. All right, down underneath, now that I got them in up top, I have plenty of room to be able to change the oil filter. Big deal. Some of the long tube headers, because the collector is right here, you literally sometimes have to take the headers off to change the oil. Didn't want to do that. I do want to drive this a bunch, so that means I got to change the oil a bunch. So that, good job. Let's go take a look at the top. They are snug. They are hugging that block. Their namesake, no lie, they hug. All right, so we had a little bit of a clearance issue. So what I'm doing is I'm slowly working this tube right here to give me as much clearance, because the motor mount's like right here. I don't want this setting on it. It was setting on it, and that motor's gonna move around a little bit. It needs at least, daylight between the thing. So let's work the tube. I'll show you how. Couple options for smashing header tubes. Hammer and dolly. It doesn't matter what you do. If you hammer them, you're not gonna restrict flow. Engine Masters proved that. It's pretty cool actually. But I wanna change this shape just a little bit. The other way that I like to do, if you can get away with it, stick it in a vise. You can control it. It's not pounding. It doesn't make a bunch of racket, and a little bit more uniform. So let me show you. All right, brand new header in the vise. I'm not gonna really do this one-handed, but just slowly crank her around. It'll smush it, and hopefully it'll be the right direction. They might touch right here, but I don't care about that. I'm more worried about the clearance to the frame, because if the motor tilts, I don't want it going bam, bam, you know, that does really bad things. But we'll very carefully give her a crank, go fit it, see if it works. All right, much happier now. We have light between the engine mount perch and the header, and everything else looks really good down here. I think now we can get some RTV, skim coat it, stick it in here for good. Let's make a mess with some RTV, and then we can have one header on. I gotta go look up a torque spec, and I think we have to use anti-seize on these stainless bolts in these aluminum heads, so if I ever want to take them out, I have some snowball's chance in hell they'll come off. Wish me luck. All right, let's talk chemicals for a second, because this is important. All right, to seal these up to the block, they have a nice machine surface. It says you don't need a gasket to seal these. It just says use a skim coat of high temp RTV. That's what this is. We're gonna use Permatex Ultra Copper. This is good stuff. Put a skim coat around each port, then it should be airtight up against that block. You don't want an exhaust leak because it could potentially lead to carbon monoxide poisoning. You could pass out, and if you pass out and this thing's rolling around, you could hurt somebody, get yourself hurt. I don't want any of that, so we're gonna take the time now and do that right. Other chemical, I'm dreading opening this because I'm gonna come out looking like the Tin Man. Permatex anti-seize. We're putting stainless bolts into aluminum heads. And aluminum, anytime you put stainless into it, put anti-seize on it. It'll give you the best chance of ever getting it off again. Hopefully I never have to take them off. But if I do, I'd like to have a chance without ripping the threads out when I go to take a bolt out. But other than that, let's get them on. I know on YouTube, the land of Ugga Dugga is king, but let's go to a rare creature. This is called a torque wrench. You set the increments by spinning this thing. It goes in and out. It tells you what it is. This called for 20 foot-pounds. I went and checked ARP's website, went and checked Summit's website. That's not much, but that block hugger is hugging a block. And we're halfway through this header install. All right, I gotta clean up the shmoo, and then we're gonna go over to the passenger side, figure out where we need to grind, get that one on. We're moving. All right, now that one's drying, and we'll consider that a dress rehearsal. Just had to do a little fitting to make sure that one fit for that #1 cylinder. But other than that, that one in really well. I'm very happy with that. All right, let's move over here. This one, my eyeballs say we're gonna have a problem right here. It looks like there's more room, but these heads, they raise the exhaust port up 0.300 of an inch. So over 1/4 of an inch to help with the flow of these things. And in the sacrifice of that, it moves the exhaust up just a hair too. Let's grab that other header. To the pile! Dun dun dun! All right, I probably won't be able to do this one-handed, but I know where this one goes too. No. That's gonna result in dropping something on me. Give me a sec, I'll get y'all set up. All right, let's try again. Let's see. We're just gonna make a little reference mark here and here. Pull that back out the way. Set it where it ain't gonna fall down. Ooh, I'm getting excited. Cause we about to have headers. Golly, I got oil everywhere. Will this be our tool? Ooh, we might. All right, this is called a flap disc. This is actually a really good way to remove a lot of material. And actually, with practice, you can have a lot of finesse with it, as you saw cutting a multi-layer gasket. That was new for me. I don't know if I want to use a cutoff wheel or a flap disc. A flap disc will take longer, but it'll give us a nicer finish because we can control how much we're taking off. Or we can go get a death wheel. Let's go get the death wheel and see what it kind of feels like in the hole. Because, yeah, death wheel. Why are they called a death wheel? Well, they've got a really thin blade that spins about 1,000,000 miles an hour. And when they come apart, they go in places. They can get in your eye, they can get in your arm. They are not always my favorite implement. But for speed, I ain't gonna lie, we might be death wheeling this and then come in with the flap disc and clean it up. I don't like the death wheel, but it does do a good job. So let's get some safety stuff in place, make some room, get some light, grab a face mask, and get at it. So some safety stuff with the death wheel. I'm gonna grab a face mask, I'm gonna put on some gloves. I've opened the big door because this will set off the smoke alarm in the house. Ask me how I know. My wife can tell you too. We'll start off by cutting literally a moon into it. I'm just gonna start with making like a skim line and then just making it deeper, and then we'll come in and see if it fits. While I'm there grinding away at the frame, let me tell you something really important about why I'm grinding the shape of like a radius or a moon into the frame instead of just a jagged notch. If you have a jagged notch, it's more likely to create what's called a stress fracture that will spread. And in your frame, you really don't want that. So anytime you're cutting into a stress member or anything like that where you need to clearance anything, don't use like 90-degree cuts, do a radius. It'll spread out the load of where that is, the tension on the material and things like that will just end up better. Just an FYI safety thing. Didn't think about it when I was cutting it, but I thought I should let y'all know. Welcome to handheld view. Don't make too much fun of my safety gear. I like my fingers and eyes. Even though my eyes don't work for crap. We got our moon cut. Now, let's grab that header and see if it fits. Bear with me just a sec. Moment of truth if I gotta grind and cut more. Come on. We'll talk nice to it and see if it'll do more better. Well, at least we can get it in there now. Now we're gonna do some more. We're gonna have to do some more. So if we come here, come down here. Alright, this has to go back and then down. So we gotta take a little bit more out of here, but we should be good right here. With this part, got a little bit more to go. I'm trying to sneak up on it. I don't want to take too much off. There's plenty of meat there on the frame, but safe than sorry. All right, let's try this again. But this time we got a bolt. Let's see how off we are. Hold that for me. All right, let's see how we're doing with the rest of the bolts. We got, I feel like a transmission making contact right there. That'd be the ear of the transmission where it comes up to the bell housing. Let's go down and take a look. Let's see what we're banging on. Yep, that ear. All right, is it the collector? Cause that, will it get any skinnier if I spin it? No, that's the thinnest place. All right, let me ponder, because if I have to, I will gladly trim this ear. Because the starter lives over here and we'll have plenty of room. But this, we might be snippy, trimmy. All right, let me ponder some ideas there. Hindsight from the editing chair. Something that didn't get recorded because the GoPro overheated was when I was also clearancing the number 2 primary on the passenger side. I went and took it over to the vise, squeezed it just like I did on the driver's side, so that way I had that 3/16 clearance between the engine perch and that number 2 primary, just to match the same thing I did on the driver's side. So if you're wondering where that went, GoPro overheated. Sorry, the footage, it didn't work out. So back to the action. All right, so we got our 3/16 of clearance here. This is where one of the problem areas were. Our moon cut in, and we knocked the ear off the transmission. But now we can spin that collector around where the collector bolts go, and we got plenty of room there. I'm very happy with this. This is way better than it was. Like I said, you can't see that I butchered it, but I still feel bad about doing it because, man, these were pretty. They're still pretty. But next step, let's get some glue on this, make it its forever home. I gotta put some paint on where I trim the frame, and I'll touch up the transmission too so it looks nice and black. We will have to modify the torque converter pan when it gets here to match that hackery, but that's not that bad. That one's thin gauge steel, hammer, molly. You never know anything's down there and we'll make it look pretty. But that, I am very happy with. Should seal up really nice. Like I said, 3/16 of an inch. 1/8 is probably okay. I know there are people that probably do that, but I wanted, 3/16, a little bit more in case this motor has a little bit of torque like it's supposed to. We're not going bang, bang on either side with the headers. It would clearance it, but that's not how I want to clearance it. All right. Glue, torque, these live here forever. But before we do that, let's get these things I trimmed up painted. We have orange smelly. We'll come back and do the anti-seize here in a second on the bolts that go in before we torque them, but we're gonna take a couple of them. Actually, we'll take 3 in case I drop one. Not unlikely. Let's be honest, gravity wins a lot. Do. All right. The bucket in play to sit on because my knees were like, I'm done with you. How many times are you gonna sit here and squat for an hour? All right, because that's 90 degrees, that paint should be fair. All right, sneak up on it. Yeah. Line up the holes. Grab the end one because this end one back here is snuggling things. But now, engage anti-snooze. Oh, that's gonna made up nice. All right, let me go get the bolts anti-seized and I'll be back. All right, everybody. The workbench. There's one overheated GoPro sitting right there. So we're gonna do this on the other one. been a good day. Got our driver's side header on, glued down, torqued. Had to do a little smushing on the #1 primary, but not too bad. Had to do a little bit more surgery over here. Like this one was the butt kicker. It was hot, had to do some grinding. We cut our moon into the frame. We had to trim the ear on the transmission. We torqued as many of them down as possible, but RTV is drying. The dipstick tube is in, so no more trauma of dropping things into the oil pan. Golly, that sucked. But learned a lot. All right, until the next one, I'm gonna step away and go get a shower, go get some food. But if you've hung out this far and you've enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, do the little doobly-doos that tell YouTube that I'm doing a good job, because I'm learning. I'd like to learn. And if there's something you see that I can do better, put it in the comments. I'd love to know. I'm sure there's a lot smarter people out there doing this stuff than I am, and I would love to learn from y'all. So, Gorm Works, out.